What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds, talking authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. And speaking of Manchester, Man City are absolute scumbags. They are a disgrace and they need relegating immediately to the fucking whatever it is, North Conference division. Tin Pots pieces of shit trying to sue the Premier League because they fucked up, essentially. So that is, as you probably aware already, going to be one of the big talking points on today's news show. We're going to discuss Olise to Chelsea, which is heating up. We're going to talk about Bruno Fernandes's form for Portugal and how he's slightly being disrespected. And there's a lot of rumours going about online, which I'm sure Sam has seen himself last night, about Eric Ten Hag apparently gone today. I don't know what time or what specific kind of thing, but they are the rumours that are flying about. But before I ask Sam how he is and we get into the stories, I dropped a members video yesterday that's in the description. 115 charges and counting. It's about everything that's ongoing with Man City at the moment. So if you are a member and you're yet to watch that or take a look at it or whatever it is, then please do give that a watch after this show and let me know your thoughts on that. Sam, how are we?
Very hungover. It was a late night last night. Won't lie. Very heavy. But we're here. We do the show, and I've still got another half day of work to complete as well. So,
well, I was
going to
ask you. You look very frosty-eyed, so I don't know if it was like if he was knackered or if he was rough.
Both.
I didn't want to kind of just guess. A bit of both.
Hangover, lack of sleep, and then we've got to go and do some bushcraft stuff after work. So we've got to go out into the woods and build fires and shelters and what have you. So, yeah, interesting day.
Right, so we'll take it slow paced then for you today, Sam, and we'll try not get too deep into the.
Don't ask me for financial sort of breakdowns of City's 115 charges because I haven't got that in me today.
Yeah, this isn't Matt Lawton from the Times, so I'll bear that in mind. But do get your thoughts in on that whole kind of stuff that was breaking last night, and we'll get into the comment section shortly. So yeah, I suppose let's kick it off with Time Sport put out an article. So Manchester City have launched an unprecedented legal action against the Premier League in a move that has sparked a civil war in English football's top flight. The outcome could dramatically alter the landscape of the professional game. And got me thinking, Sam, didn't Lance Armstrong try and sue the Tour de France when all that shit was going on with him? Does that not give you like similar vibes?
Yeah, no, it's always the way, isn't it? It's always the same thing. It's always like if you're cheating, then it's always like, well, this should be the thing. It's all bollocks in it, really. It's just them trying to create shit.
The best form of attack is defense. No, the best form of defense is attack. Is that what they say?
Yeah, it's like before you get taken out, they're trying to take everybody else down with them, aren't they? Before they get the old heave ho.
Yeah, look, this basically means what in layman's terms, they're guilty on charges, but they're arguing the rules they broke, obviously being aware of them at the time. So now they're saying, they shouldn't exist. Yeah,
as well, the rules they agreed to, like they don't have to be in the league. They don't have to compete in this league if they don't agree with the rules. They can go do whatever, but they agreed to it. So that's the rules. Like whether you like it or not, it's what you agree to.
For me, it's the kind of typical mentality of a defendant who knows they haven't got a fucking leg to stand on when you listen to it. I was reading quite a lot of stuff into it yesterday. I didn't really get the kind of finer details like you was mentioning before, and I weren't even rough, so I don't have an excuse. I was just trying to work my way through it and unpack what's going on. And it is quite a complicated situation. I also think the Premier League as well, Sam, this is going to send shockwaves throughout the actual league in itself and potentially change the landscape. Because if let's say the Prem lose this battle and City win it, that's quite significant, isn't it? Going forward.
Over. It's fucking over. Like Newcastle are then just going to go, all right, well, we're 20 times as rich as you because we've got the entire Saudi Arabian government behind us.
Yeah.
So we'll just absolutely clean this league up and the Champions League, and you'll never win anything for the next 20, 30 years. Why we just absolutely blitz the rest of you? Because why would they not? At the minute, they're adhering to the rules because of like the rules that are in place they agreed to. But if the rules don't apply and you can pretty much get away with it, which is if what happens to City, they get off scot-free and it's just a fine, then why would Newcastle not go, well, they're just paying a fine and we can easily afford that. So let's just fucking do that. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is we have to pay a fine and we can afford it. It's essentially just taxing. It's just a tax. It's a rich tax, isn't it? It's basically, that's what it is. It's like you can do whatever you want if you can afford the penalty. And the penalty is, it's a lot of money, which if you're a rich club, that's really nothing to you, isn't it? Really, it's like there's a story I use quite a lot. It's like if you go to there's a gig venue in Manchester called the Ritz,
Hmm.
and a friend of mine was working the merch thing there, and Paul Pogba showed up in his Rolls and just parked directly in front of the venue,
Yeah.
and the guy in the security was like, "You can't park there. You'll get a ticket." And he was just like, "It's fine. Don't worry about it." It came out. There was a ticket on the fucking car,
Yeah.
and Paul Pogba just grabbed it, gave it to his entourage, and they just got a load of money, put the money in it. So there are no laws if you're rich enough. That's essentially what it means. If the Premier League don't relegate them or do something significant, that's what they have to do. Otherwise, the laws mean nothing.
That's why I've never understood the talk of the civil war, because surely the majority of clubs would be against this. You look at like your Brightons and your Crystal Palaces and all these kind of teams who are starting to push into that top 10 now. Surely they would be against it. The only one who I would understand who's alongside him is, like you said, Newcastle, because they're state owned
Yeah.
as well. And maybe Chelsea with the shit they've got ongoing at the moment. I'm not sure in terms of the details with that. But that's the only side I get. Surely it'll be only Newcastle who's siding with him on this.
Yeah, I can't. Well, Newcastle, maybe PSG. If it like that, I'm sure they'll show backings again. They're state owned with Qatar,
Mm,
so I imagine that they'll be fully behind this because if the Premier League involves something, it tends to have a bit of a shockwave around Europe and things
yeah.
tend to happen. So you saw that with the Super League. The Super League happened, and because of the Champions League, and the other clubs felt like they weren't getting enough money or a big enough cut or enough control. And then what happened? They changed the Champions League format, they changed the Europa League format to suit these clubs that tried to
Yeah.
break away from the thing. So you could see something similar happen. So if the Premier League allows City and all that to do whatever they want, then you can see all European clubs in UEFA backed clubs be like, well, why can't we do that shit? Why can't we just pump it in a load of money? So
I do, excuse me. I do think it's interesting that you make a good point now, actually, because we're starting to see more and more kind of clubs rebelling against the leagues and the licenses that are in charge, and UEFA and all the, and FA and all this kind of stuff. And there's actually a bit more on this story as well. It says, so the dispute, which has become a battle between the most powerful clubs in the country, will be settled after a 2-week private arbitration hearing starting on Monday. The hearing could have a significant impact on a separate hearing set for November into City's 115 alleged breaches of the Premier League's regulations and financial rules. Check out the members video if you haven't seen it already. The one concern I have with this, Sam, and well, it's not. I've got many concerns with it, but one that sticks out to me is surely they cannot. I know it said a 2-week for one of the hearings there, but surely they cannot go through another season. Imagine if Man City win the league next year again.
well, the actual charges hearing is November, I
Yeah.
think. That's when it, and that lasts 6 weeks, so that'll take you past the end of the year
Mm,
and into January. So like the season is in full swing at that point, almost halfway point, and a decision still might not have been made at that point, and you're halfway through a season. So what happens then? If your decision is made, like, do you make it at the end of the season, like you said, and then they've already won another title, or when you've ended the hearing and you're in mid-January, then you make a decision, and then essentially the league becomes null and void because City could be in a position there where they're like leading the league, and then you go, no, they get points deduction, which essentially means they're relegated, and then all these other teams, and it just makes a mockery of the whole fucking thing. Like,
mm.
it's a ridiculousness. Like, so I just don't understand why they can't do it now, like in the summer when there's no season, there's no clubs, and you can get it done, and then going into the next season in August exactly where you stand and who's what and all that sort of stuff. It's a fucking mess. The Premier is and the Premier League's fault as well. Like they can't seem to get decisions or they can't seem to get rulings quick enough. Like we saw what happened with Forest, we saw what happened with Everton. Clubs like Luton didn't know whether they were staying up on merit or whether they would get in because of a points deduction. Like it was all sorts of mess going on, and the Premier League needs to sort it out and get this stuff done quicker. Like really, it's so much quicker.
It's funny because we always talk about VAR and how that needs improving and how the offside needs changing and handball and the refs and how they operate and stuff. And actually as well, off the pitch is almost as bad, isn't it? The way it's going at the moment with the teams in the league. I think FFP as well to a certain extent. I think that's so flawed in many ways. The way the kind of implement it. I don't know how it is in other European leagues, but we've had continuous issues and concerns with FFP for ages now. So on that side of things, that's the only thing I never ever sympathised with Man City fans. But on that side of things, I get it, because when FFP wasn't a huge consideration, you had the traditional top four who was doing basically what they wanted until they was challenged, and then they had to kind of regulate towards it. So, but by that point, they had already injected the wealth and all this kind of stuff. So that I slightly understand.
That's the argument, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
if you look at City as a whole, the reason they're in the position they are now to generate the sort of turnover and the profits they are is because they pumped in a load of money. And a lot of clubs are theoretically asking, why can't we do the same?
Yeah.
Like like you've got Villa's owners who are very rich people, from what I understand. I bet they'd love to pump a load of money in, because you've seen what they've done with the rules that they have. They've got themselves into the top four. It's like, if they pumped a load of more money in, maybe they could challenge for a title.
Yeah.
You don't know. Newcastle, I am absolutely positive they would love to just splash the cash. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
no doubt.
positive of that shit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things where it's like, well, if they've got the money and they're not putting the club or at risk, or people are not getting paid, or you know what I mean, stuff like that is not happening, then I could see the argument, like, why can't clubs spend what they want? However, with the City situation, it's they're claiming, oh, the rules are wrong, blah blah blah, but the rules wouldn't have applied to you if you hadn't lied in the first place and you hadn't
Yeah.
done the things that you have done. So it wouldn't have been an issue if you just done it correctly. Had you cooperated with the investigation, had you not hid books, had you not lied about where the money's come from, had you not lied about the connection to the sponsorships that you have when they're clearly owned by the same people, that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
I think people, like you said, people would have not sympathy, but people would understand your argument if you're saying, well, why aren't we allowed to spend whatever we want if we got things? But it's the other side of things that's the issue, and I think that's what clubs are going to have an issue with. And if the 10 to 12 clubs that are saying they are behind the Premier League, that's not a good sign, man. It's not a good sign. That's over half of the league saying they're basically against City. It's not good.
That's what I mean. Rules are rules, innit? Like, it's all good if you want to challenge the legitimacy of it, but not after fucking years of ignoring it. Don't start going out and saying like, oh well, we didn't know this and we want to challenge that, and get to fuck. It's like you said. It's like, do you know, like when someone's being roasted that many times and you see that meme face that they do, and like they just start going on the defense and start doing. That's what City are doing now. Like, they've been roasted by everyone else in the Premier League, by fans alike, saying, listen, lads, you've got these 115 charges, like 35 charges for fucking breaching UEFA rules. Like, when you actually go into it, I did it all in a video, but when you individualise it, it's actually fucking mad what they've done.
There's a lot of them that are just basically not cooperating with the investigation, or not handing over
35
materials.
35 charges.
Not handing over materials, which is just insane. It's just
Yeah.
like, well, if you got nothing to hide, why are you not handing over documents?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
there's managerial and player payments that they've been hiding as well.
yeah. Well, there was is it Mancini? He was being paid like 2 million or something like that a year for some, and then he was a consultant, but he was working out in, like, there's a lot of dodgy shit going on.
Dodgy shit. Right, let's get into the comments then, because I'm sure people are very eager to throw their opinions in on this one. Everyone's saying good morning, Dino, Richard, all you guys in the chat, big up.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, goody morning. And I still need to add that to the soundboard. Just nailed 2 bacon and egg tiger rolls, ready for my Real Reds talk show now. Love that. That's quite heavy though, tiger rolls in the morning, but yeah.
Bready, that is a bready bread, that, isn't it? It's a proper.
Yeah. Nick did a great job on that video. Thank you, Dino. Appreciate the feedback as always. Do a Juventus on City. Well, of course, that's the one thing you can look at in it as like a comparison. The whole scandal in 2005 when they got actually relegated, and then it was actually Jean-Claude Blanc who brought them back up.
Match fixing that though, wasn't it?
But I mean, like, when you look at like the scandal in terms of like around the world, or the big prestigious clubs who have gone down, I mean, in that sense, I mean, Juventus are the only ones I can think of. But I think Barcelona have had a couple of bits where it's been a bit dodgy.
I mean, Barcelona could end up in the way they're going. Like, they can't even register Hansi Flick as their manager at the minute because of their financial shite. So could happen to them.
It's interesting because it's actually Tiki Bergistan is his name, who went over
Yeah.
from Barca. You got Pep, who's gone
Yeah.
over from Barca. It must just be a
Yeah.
DNA thing. I have no idea. Dave Lewis in the chat. Hello, Dave, saying Ineos could theoretically just pump money into United as well. Not as much as a country, but significantly more than the other clubs could. I think we all agree that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Yeah, I agree. Keep it level, keep it competitive. One of the things I mentioned Sam yesterday, if Man City did get relegated, imagine how much the league would open up.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be really interesting. Like you saw Villa pushing top four. You saw Liverpool, arguably, as much as I hate Liverpool, arguably, if it weren't for City, probably should have had what, 3, 4 titles under
Yeah,
Klopp.
yeah.
So there's that side of it. Obviously Arsenal have been really, really close the last 2 years, so there's another one. Obviously we've been shite, we know we know it, but theoretically, Ollie could get a title. Like he did, he finished second, didn't he? So good, he did it. And Jose get the title as well.
I know. Could you imagine? Oh my god. Richard Hawkins saying, Sam, 4 vodkas and tomato juice in a pint glass works for me every morning. Apparently, if you want to go for that, that sounds like a bush tucker trial to me.
That sounds like I will be sick if I do that.
I think you would.
Whatever works for you, Rich. If it works for you, mate, you go for it.
Did Juventus get their titles stripped as well? I'm not sure. Did they?
I think they lost. Yeah, I think they lost the titles.
Yeah. Barcelona signed Flick but can't register him.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or is that?
Yeah.
I thought that was a
Yeah,
joke.
they can't register him as an employee at the minute. So he's essentially their manager in everything but actual contract. So yeah,
what a mess.
He's not allowed to be.
What an absolute mess. Sean saying, missed the start. Hope I didn't miss anything about Ten Hag staying or City being relegated. But you missed the City part. But we'll discuss Ten Hag towards the end. Right, should we talk about Olise? Because we've a big chunk has been sent on Man City, and I don't want to spend any more on it. So, Chelsea will meet with United target Michael Olise. Olise's, I never know how to say his name. Representatives in the coming days with a view to proactively concluding a deal. They are taking aggressive measures to ensure they beat United to the signing, basically. Despite holding Olise in high regard, a right winger doesn't rank highly on United's priority list, as some have alluded to. Ineos are focused on their efforts on defensive and midfield signings. Talks are underway with reps of potential targets. Now, contrary to what people may think, Sam, I've always said I would promote Ahmad from within, and we've got plenty of wingers anyway. So I'm not actually that mad at this. I think Olise would be a fantastic signing, but why are we buying table polish when we've not even got a table, right?
Yeah, we've got right wingers like you said. We've got Ahmad, we've got Anthony. As much as I don't think he's United quality, he's there.
Yeah,
Garnacho could play on the right as well. So like you've got options there. It's not a need position, and I like Olise a lot. I think he's a great player.
Yeah,
I think he'd add a lot to United. But I think there's so many gaping holes in this squad where you just like, what is he, 60 million? At least they're looking at. I think that 60 million could go on a centre back or a defensive midfielder. I think that's where the money needs to go essentially. And then I think a striker is probably next on the thing. So I think right wing's probably what, 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th on the list if priorities. So again, I know people will be upset and be annoyed because he's a great player and I think he'd look good at United. But you have to look at the squad and go, look where the holes are. Varane's gone. You need a centre back desperately. You might sell a Lindelof, a Maguire. Johnny Evans is in negotiations for a contract, so he may not be here as well. So arguably, you might need 2 centre backs, and that's a lot of money right there. And then you definitely need a defensive midfielder. Like a defensive midfielder is so essential to this team, especially when you've got Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno. Like you could make something special if you get the right midfielder in there, somebody who can dictate and break play up and get the balls out to them too. So I think they're the must need areas to sort of start with. Then you go for a backup striker with for Højlund. And then if you've got money left over and you've sold well, maybe then you can go back in for Olise if he hasn't already gone to Chelsea. But for me, I wouldn't be panicking that we aren't getting him or he's going to Chelsea because, like you said, it's not a priority, like even by a long stretch.
Also, I'm pretty sure Cole Palmer plays on the right-hand side for them. The majority of the time. They've got Nkunku, they've got Sterling, they've got Mudryk, they've got Madueke, who plays on the right-hand side. Like, where the fuck would he even fit in? That's what I don't get.
It's never stopped Chelsea before, has it? They just buy stock players like they're going out of fashion. It's ridiculous the amount of players they get, but yeah.
Very true. I think Chelsea just going to probably chuck ridiculous money at this, aren't they, and become a part of the pile in that sense. So I don't even know if you would want to go with. I know there's release clause like you say, but then Chelsea start pushing the wage up because they'll just pay him whatever the fuck they want, and then we've got to get involved with that, and it comes messy. And like, I don't see it as a deal. If he's still available after we've got all our targets and we manage to sell Sancho and Wan-Bissaka or whatever, then I would definitely look at it. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't sign him. It would just remind me of like Mount, for example. Like I really like Mason Mount, but when we signed him, was it a priority or was the striker a priority at the time? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
You,
So
you look at it now with the injury crisis that we had, and the fact that Højlund came in injured, you'd think it's like, you'd probably get a backup striker in for the amount of money you just spent on him, and we might have been in a better off position because we was desperate need for it. So yeah, I think United need to approach this transfer window so much differently. We don't need to be panicked into buys. We don't need to be rushed into anything. And I know people are, why are we not signing anybody? Right? This is like, this is a brand new fucking takeover. This is a brand new system set up, and we haven't even got all the people in place yet. Dan Ashworth's not here yet. Barada hasn't started yet. We've just signed that Toby, whatever his name is, I can't remember his surname.
Maguire.
So yeah, so you've got all these people and they're not even in place yet. And then people are like saying, why are we not getting a lease? It's like, well, we're still building this and we're still being patient and identify. Like, you've got to just give it time. And people saying, oh, like Ineos have already fucked up. It's like, they've not even been here a year yet. They've not even been here a year. So, like, this shit's going to take years to undo all this stuff that the Glazers are thinking, all the fuck up. It's going to take years. So, you got to be patient, man. You just got to be patient.
Yeah, and as well as bringing in players, I suppose keeping older players is as interesting. You had Bruno Fernandes, who was absolutely flying last night for Portugal, scored 2 goals, and one of them was a fucking a banger. He's been directly involved in 17 goals in his last 12 games for Portugal, which is crazy. One thing I just wanted to ask on Bruno, will it be a disaster if he never wins a major trophy, do you think?
I think, well, you've seen it now, whether it's agent talk or whether it's papers just making shit up. He wants to be sure of United's direction, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he wants to stay, but he wants to be sure of United's direction, and obviously, being sure of United's direction is if we're going to win trophies or at least challenge for major trophies. And I'm sure the FA Cup thing probably helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But obviously, he wants to win leagues. He wants to compete in the Champions League. Like, that's what he wants to be doing. And to right, he's good enough to be at that level and be doing those things. So I understand where he's coming from. And he is reaching 30 now. Is he 29? I think
he's actually 30.
He's actually 30 now. So yeah, he's on the sort of tail end of his career. So he needs to win trophies in very sort of soonish. So yeah, it sucked for him if he didn't win one at United. But sometimes that happens, man. Like, sometimes loyalty will kill you. Like, staying at a club will kill you, and you end up not. Like, Harry Kane made that move, didn't he? Like, he was at Spurs. He was loyal to the soil for ages. He didn't really win anything, and then he went to Bayern. He's like, oh, I'm going to win something, and then he's ended up not winning anything anyway. Which
is
that's how it works sometimes, unfortunately. And so yeah, sometimes the loyalty kills you, but also the grass ain't always greener on the other side, man. Like, you could go somewhere where you think you'll definitely win, and you may not.
It's interesting because I was listening to De Bruyne speak about this the other day, and obviously he's a similar age to Bruno. I think De Bruyne is 31, 32 max, and there's a lot of talk with him in Saudi Arabia. And the comments he said, he was like, listen, I could go there, get a massive contract, and earn probably more in the first year than I did in the first, 8 years of my career. You know, like, my wife's happy to move, my family's happy to move.
Not be intense in playing,
you can relax, bit more of a holiday kind of thing. Still competitive, but nowhere near the levels that's demanded at City. So you can see the appeal to that in that sense. So if Saudi come in for it with a big offer, because they tried it with Salah was 30, they'll probably do it with De Bruyne and offer him a lot of money. You know, if United get over 100 for Bruno, I mean, that's interesting.
No player is irreplaceable. Like,
no,
every player is replaceable.
Depending on your scouting network.
Yeah, we've lost big players before. We've lost Cantona. We've lost Scholes. We've lost Ronaldo twice. We've lost loads of top players, and it sucks. And I like Bruno a lot. He's one of my favorite players, but he's not replaceable. He's not the be all and end all of Manchester United. Like, we will continue on after him. And we continued on before him. Like, we were successful before him and hopefully be successful after him. So I wouldn't worry too much, especially if you get a big offer like 100, 120 million. you could go out and sign 2 world-class potential midfielders for that, or you could go in and get like the top of the line midfielder for that amount of money. So I think I wouldn't be too worried if he did go to Saudi, but he doesn't seem like the type to want to go to Saudi,
No, I
not at this
agree.
point in his career anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe he does like when he's like 35, 36, and he just wants to earn that last big paycheck. But it doesn't seem like the guy who wants to go there. I think if he was going to leave United, he'd go to like a top European club. I think that's where he'd want to go.
The contract's an interesting one as well because you've got all your highest earners, Sancho, Rashford, even Mount's on more than Bruno, I think. So United have almost made a rod for their own back in that sense, haven't they? Where it's like you have to give him equal to what Rashford's getting now, or at least close to it. Or you can't offer the captain in the club, the best player, less than what everybody else is on. I don't see how they resolve that, to be honest with you.
Especially when he's been your most consistent performer since he like joined the club.
Since he arrived,
And
yeah.
Yes, and then the other players who are getting more than him have been inconsistent at best
Yeah.
and terrible at worst. Do you know what I mean? So
I saw something yesterday, Sam. Rashford, Sancho, and Mount are in the top 5 or 3 of our highest earners, and not one single one of them are going to the Euros.
yeah,
How
and nearly all of them had a fucking awful season.
crazy.
Like not a
Absolutely
single decent season between them either, which is just
madness.
insanity.
Dave saying KDB picking up a lot of injuries at the minute. Don't know how long he can keep up with the intensity. Yeah, you can see that. He had quite a few this season. So it would make
6 months, wasn't he? This season.
He was out for a while. I don't know if it was 6 months, but he was definitely out for a while. Yeah, I think it makes more sense for someone like De Bruyne to go over to Saudi. You look at same thing with Varane when you look at his injuries as well. I thought he would have gone over there, but I don't know what his next move is going to be. Maybe he'll go back to France like you suggested with Lawrence. Maybe. Right, let's talk about these manager rumours then. This is the last thing we're going to discuss because we had a lot of rumours circling. I'm just going to double check if we have any updates at the moment on that manager situation.
I've got Twitter in front of me. I can't see anything.
Yeah, but like quite highly followed accounts that people trust. Talking it's going to be announced today at some point, and Tenag's going to lose his job. You've got Tuchel, who's apparently the favourite. Xavi's coming to the frame now, apparently. Ben Jacobs mentioned something about Poch as well. I don't think it's crazy at the moment, the situation that we're in. Like, Madrid winning the Champions League, then signing Mbappe. And it's what, we're into the 3rd week now? Without replacing the manager or getting rid of him. Like, are you expecting a decision this week, Sam? I'm not expecting you to give me ITK information, but you get what I'm saying.
We could. Theoretically, we could. I honestly don't know because I expected it the first week after the FA Cup, and it's not happened. So honestly, it could happen today, could happen tomorrow, could be next week. Like I've no idea what they're doing. The only thing I've sort of picked up from it is there was it's the Athletic podcast I was listening to, and somebody sort of mentioned it. It was like, I'd rather them walk to the right decision than run to the wrong decision. Like, that's where I'm at with it. Like, I don't want them to rush and then regret the decision, make the wrong decision. If they're going to take the time, make sure it's the right decision at the end of it. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm all right with it if it's going to take some time. But obviously, we do need to start making plans and deciding if I know like with you new in your structure, the managers doesn't get to pick the players necessarily, but I think players like to know who the manager is going to be when they sign for the club. Like, I think that's most players need to know that or are interested to know that. So yeah, I think we need to get a move on with this, and it'd be good to know if Ten Hag is going to be here or not next season, like before the Euro start. It would be nice.
Yeah.
Because then we could just focus on Euros and be like, okay, cool, Ten Hag staying. Let's enjoy the Euros and see what happens in the transfer market, and then we can go again next season. But if he's not, if they end up sacking him, it's going to be an absolute shitstorm, isn't it? Just going to be a whirlwind of like who the manager's going to be, when's he going to start, like what sort of thing is he? It's just going to be so much to sort of go through. On top of trying to plan a transfer window as well, it's just going to be chaos at United. Absolute chaos.
Yeah, and like I said, walking towards the correct decision, which I agree with you, but there's only so long you can walk for. It's like, we've got 9 days till the window opens. Clubs, as we know, last season it happened, they do business quickly. Darwin Núñez was done quickly. Haaland was done quickly, obviously the year before. But they're on it. You know, you've already got fucking Chelsea putting in deals, tossing Adebayo. You've got West Ham who are signing a couple of Brazilians as well. Like, they're already on it.
Villa have got Barkley. They're going for Conor Gallagher.
I said Ross Barkley on a free. Why would you not be in for that? Just the squad depth, because we're gonna have a lot of players moving on. That's never made sense to me, that. But yeah, I'm slightly worried. I've got to be honest. I had a lot of optimism going into the summer, and maybe they'll prove me wrong and it'll be done very quickly. But I just feel a bit negative. I'm like, we're in limbo still. Was this not what was happening under, you know, previous ownership and previous people in charge?
I think if you want to be optimistic about it, which I'm trying my best to be, maybe because it's a different regime, things aren't leaking out like they used to under the old one. So maybe things are happening behind the scenes and under Ineos that we don't know about, and just only they know about it. So maybe they've already give assurances to Ten Hag, like, look, you're staying. We'll make an announcement in due time. Or maybe they've already told him that he's gone, and then they're speaking to these managers, and then they'll make the announcement once they pick the manager. So it's just like literally, okay, Ten Hag, good luck, blah, blah, here's the new manager, rather than bye Ten Hag, now we have to go look at another manager. I think they want to do everything like succinctly and done like within the same sort of period. So I get why people are a bit negative. I get why people are a bit cynical about it, because we've been through shit like this before under previous regimes with Arnold and Woodward and all that sort of stuff. So I get it. I really do understand it. But I'm trying to give Ineos a chance. So yeah, let's give them an opportunity and see what they do. But this is the first big decision they've got to make. So hopefully they make it relatively soon.
Good luck to him, because yeah, like we've said many a times, you don't envy him. Richard said, 20 watching, please hit that like button. Yes, please do if you can. Smash a like on the video. We're on 5,307 subscribers, so we're on our way to 5,400 now. So if you are new, you're just tuning in, you like football and content and all that kind of stuff, and then hit the subscribe button. Also, I know it's in the description, but I'm going to put it in the chat as well. The link there for the members video. If you want to become a Real Red Ultra member, click the join button next to the notification bell, and check that video out. Man City 115 charges and counting, and let me know what you think. Sam, what's your plan for the rest of the day? I think you mentioned at the start, didn't you? Or the rest of the week, let's say.
So another work day to do today, and then we're going out into the woods to build shelters, learn how to light fires and that sort of stuff. So
you don't strike me as the type of guy to build shelters and light fires.
I've never done it before, so
right,
yeah. let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I've never been on a kayak on a lake before, but I did that the other day and I loved that. So never shot a gun before, really enjoyed that. So yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Yeah, you were putting many feathers in that cap, aren't you, by the sounds of it?
Yeah, it has been a bit of a long drinking week, though, I will say that. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of a sober couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be nice. You might need a whiskey tonight if they announce Ten Hag leaving, though. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm not looking forward to, like, if it does happen and he's like sacked and then we have to jump on a line, like that's not going to be a fun one. It's not going to be fun.
It's going to be an emotional one, man. We'll have is it Charlie Pugh? It's been a long day.
Yeah. It's Ten Hag going in the car.
Yeah. Goodbye, brother. Yeah. So make sure you turn on that notification bell, because if that news does drop today, we will be live. So come and join us. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Dino saying, watch out for Bigfoot in the woods, Sam. Just a heads up there.
Cool. I didn't know he was in the Lake District, but okay.
Yeah, he likes this time of the year. Bigfoot likes the lake. He likes to get away, Windermere.
Hey,
you know,
he travels over from fucking. Where's he in America? Whereabouts?
Mate, you're asking the wrong person. I have no idea. No.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, we'll see you in a bit. Take it easy. See you in a bit.